Welcome, everyone. My name is Pat Micone. I'm the president of the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and I'm here with my colleague, Kendall, who's our vice president of programs, and we're thrilled to be here with you today. You know, we look forward to being with you every week to bring you truth and facts that you may not be hearing in the mainstream media. We like to dispel any misinformation, disinformation, even malinformation that you might be hearing surrounding the key issues of the day. So we are also, we're elated and grateful because we have just accomplished, our Republican Party has accomplished a trifecta victory win. We won the presidency. We are grateful for President Trump and J.D. Vance. We won the Senate and we won the House. So with that, we are just grateful to Almighty God and to everyone in our nation who worked so hard to bring back the principles of our U.S. Constitution. We want to preserve them, and we want to preserve it for all. We know there are so many deep issues that we now need to heal and go forward and help bring back prosperity, safety, and security to all. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Kendall, who will introduce our special guest.
Thank you, Pat. And today we are very blessed to have with us Bryan Horsman, who is the current chairman. Yes, and he started out back in 2018 with this organization, and he's going to tell us about his journey and to tell us all about the honor flight. So we're excited for you to know more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ro, and thank you very much, Pat, for having me here today.
We were grateful to have Bryan recently at our special Veterans Celebration event.
Yes, we did.
And we just had overwhelming appreciation for his presentation. So we wanted to have him back so we can now share it to all of our villagers and all of our veterans who may not be able to have come.
Wonderful.
Right.
Well, thank you again for having me.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the honor flights and how it started and
Absolutely.
where do you start?
Well, Honor Flight really began here. This is the National World War II Memorial. It was dedicated on May 29th of 2004, and it's located in the National Mall of Washington, D.C. A retired Air Force captain named Earl Morris was volunteering as a physician's assistant in Springfield, Ohio, at a VA there. And he had a lot of World War II patients. And so he would ask them very excitedly, are you looking forward to seeing your memorial? Do you have plans to see this memorial? And most of them said, yes, I can't wait to see it. If I can get one of my groups to take me, or if I can get a family member to take me, I would love to see it. Some time would pass, and Earl would see some of these same patients, and he would say, did you get a chance to see this memorial? And they would kind of hem and haw, and for whatever reasons, they didn't have a chance to go. And it occurred to Earl that most of these veterans who served in World War II were not going to have an opportunity to see this beautiful memorial that was built in their honor. Mm-hmm. So being a crafty guy and a amateur pilot, he gathered a few of his amateur pilot friends. And May 25th, 2005, almost a year after the World War II memorial was dedicated, Earl, along with 6 of his friends, flew 12 World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. to spend the day at their memorial. Word got out pretty quick that this was happening. So Earl was approached by several other World War II veterans to take them. And from there, the Honor Flight Network was born. So what started off as that small flight with 12 veterans developed into the Honor Flight Network with a mission statement that's very simple: transport veterans to Washington, D.C., completely free of charge to celebrate and be honored at their memorials. Again, completely free of charge for the veterans. As time went on, as our World War II veterans have been aging, they expanded it into our Korean War veterans and into our Vietnam War veterans as well. So what started again with 12 World War II veterans on that May morning in 2005 has expanded into 128 hubs across 45 states in the U.S.
Wow.
And Honor Flight as a network has transported 300,000 veterans to Washington, D.C.
That's amazing.
Wow.
to see their memorials.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So seeing that there was a need in the LA, Orange County, and Inland Empire, Craig Van Dorn, along with Lucy Miller, founded Honor Flight Southland. And that was in 2015. And Honor Flight Southland currently flies 2 missions per year. And we have completed 17 tours of honor, taking 624 veterans to Washington, D.C. for their tour of honor.
And we have a couple in our village. You'll
Yeah,
tell me
indeed.
later.
Yes, indeed. So I want to take you through, so this is a typical honor flight itinerary. We start very, very early on day 1, usually a Friday, early in the morning. And that's usually a travel day. On day 2, we hit the ground running and we hit up Arlington National Cemetery, U.S. Marine Corps Memorial, the Air Force Memorial, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Lincoln, and the FDR is where we kind of close out the day.
Wow, that's
And-
quite an itinerary, Bryan.
It is, and let me tell you, I'm 54. At the end of that day 3, I'm wiped out.
Yes.
Right.
But you know, our veterans never stop.
Oh,
They
my
never
God.
stop moving.
That's great.
So
They have help, right? They have
yeah,
people.
so every veteran takes a guardian along with them, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. But the role of the guardian is really their go-to guy for the trip. They're the ones that are pushing wheelchairs if necessary, making sure that the veterans are taking their medications, that they're drinking water. You know, anything that is going to ensure the veterans' experience,
Yeah, yes.
to have the experience that we want them to have. The guardian plays a major role in that. And the guardian is generally a family member, son, daughter, grandchild. But for our veterans that don't have a family member that can go with them, we will tap into our vast pool of volunteer guardians. And these are just volunteers that want to come on a trip, want to serve our veterans, and have the experience with them. And it really becomes a beautiful relationship because the guardian is, in a sense, their family member for
Yeah.
the weekend. And we don't expect this to be a one and done relationship. The bond that forms over this weekend between the guardian and the veteran is very special. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Yes.
I've been fortunate to be a guardian 3 times. That's how I got my start with Honor Flight Southland as a guardian for a World War II veteran. And the relationship that you form, you are a member of their family, and it's a very special relationship.
Yes. You
One
get to
that I
spend a
haven't-
lot of quality time with them.
You are their guy from the
Yeah.
minute they get to the airport on day 1 to the
Wow.
minute you put them in the car and you
Yes.
get home on day 3. You fly with them, you're traveling with them on the bus, you room with them, you eat with them. We have a saying on Honor Flight, you always know where 2 things are. You always know where your veteran is, and you always know where their wheelchair is. Either
Oh,
way.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, they're well
yeah.
cared for.
they're very well cared for indeed.
Fantastic.
On the end of day 2, we end our day at the FDR Memorial, which is a beautiful open air memorial. It's a great way to kind of decompress after the very, very long day that we have. And then on day 3, depending on our flight schedule, we'll hit either Fort McHenry in the morning, which is the inspiration for the Star Spangled Banner, and they do a beautiful flag ceremony for our veterans there. Or we hit the U.S. Naval Academy, where we do a beautiful tour of their campus, their chapel, and we pay our respects to John Paul Jones, who was entombed underneath the chapel there.
Oh.
And when we've gotten very ambitious, if we have a later flight, we'll fit both of those into a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we return home later that evening. So I'd like to take you through just some highlights of a particular trip. Here are some of our World War II veterans waiting to get checked in at the airport. What's fun about this picture is that no matter what time we tell the veterans to arrive at the airport, and we usually are telling them fairly early because we usually have a very, very early flight. Sometimes we ask them to be there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. No matter what time we tell them to get there, they're there at least an hour early. Without fail. Our record goes to a gentleman who came a couple trips ago. who got there at 10:30 the night before.
Oh, wow.
Just because he was so excited to go, and he just wanted to make sure that he didn't have any car trouble. Not that he ever had any,
Yeah.
but he just wanted to ensure that nothing stood in his way of being able to go on
A
his
true
trip.
soldier.
A true soldier.
Preparation.
We always get a beautiful greeting when we get to, we fly into Baltimore. We always get a wonderful greeting when we get there. People stop what they're doing when they're at the airport, and they will stand and clap for our veterans as they come through. There's also Miss Central Maryland came to greet our veterans. You know, nothing says welcome like a 6-foot blonde Central Miss
Yeah, okay.
Maryland there.
Yes, yes, beautiful.
And it's always wonderful to see children come out and greet our veterans.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, look at that young man. So you go into Baltimore, not DC airport.
That's correct, yeah. And that's due to our flight. You know, we want to do a nonstop flight.
Yes.
And that's the best way for us from
Okay.
LA. We go into Baltimore. And we stay at the Baltimore hotel. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's kind of our base of operation there.
Okay.
The next morning, we start fairly early. We go witness the changing of the guard at Arlington National Cemetery. Honor Flight has preferential seating down there at the bottom. We are this far away from the Sentinels as they're doing their inspection. We let our veterans know that a little known secret with our tomb guards is, as we know, they're not allowed to speak. So what they do to show their respect to our Honor Flight veterans is they shuffle their feet as they walk past them, and it makes this scraping noise. And that's their way of acknowledging our veterans.
Wow. Wow.
2 of our Honor Flight veterans get chosen to represent Honor Flight Southland by laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It's a wonderful thing to experience, to witness our Honor Flight veterans get that honor. I always say that to see them lay the wreath, they always stand up tall, they always walk in formation, and they always snap a smart salute as they're laying that wreath. One of the veterans told me that was the absolute highlight of his life. And he had a very distinguished life, but the highlight was being able to lay that wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown and represent not only Honor Flight Southland, but all of his fellow veterans that have come before him.
Very moving.
Yes. And there's a lovely picture of the
Oh.
Honor Flight Southland wreath.
That is beautiful.
There at the Tomb of the Unknown.
That is beautiful.
So this is one of the stops on our trip, the U.S. Marine Memorial. This is Mary Louise and Woody Hedgewood, both of the Marines. Mary Louise and Woody served in World War II. That wasn't enough for Woody. He went on to serve in Korea and Vietnam as well.
Wow.
This is one of the exceptions to our no spouse rule on the trip, is both of them served as,
Yes.
both of them are veterans, both of them had their own guardians go with them on the trip.
It's a rare
Yes,
rare
indeed.
occurrence.
Yes.
Wow.
We hit up the U.S. Air Force Memorial. The U.S. Air Force Memorial is a beautiful memorial. It's being annexed into Arlington National Cemetery, but it sits there on the top of the hill overlooking the Pentagon and downtown Washington,
That's
D.C.
beautiful.
Yes. It's so vast and large, it's difficult
Planes
to
going
get a
up.
good... Yeah, so it is meant to represent the missing man formation as the planes
Yes.
go up. And
Yes.
then we hit up the National World War II Memorial, where it all started for Honor Flight. We always get a wonderful greeting when we arrive. There are some volunteers there with signs welcoming us. And it's always nice when General Patton there shows up too as
Yes,
well
that's
to welcome
great.
some of our veterans.
That's great. A little thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's skinny Pat.
Yeah.
I always say if you want to know what it's like to hang out with a rock star, take a World War II veteran to the World War II Memorial.
Wow.
It's like Elvis just showed up.
Wow.
People come out of the woodwork there to greet our veterans and to thank them for their service.
He looks so happy.
He was indeed. Here's one of our World War II veterans holding court with some children. Looks like he's showing them some pictures of when he served on his phone there.
The little boy looking at his
Yeah.
phone.
We hit the Korean War Memorial. To me, the trip is made up not of the big grand moments, the large ceremonies and whatnot. For me, the things that I remember the most are these small moments. The little moments that if you blink, you miss. If you're not paying attention, you'll never see it. This is Lester Probst. Lester served U.S. Army in Korea, and this family, they're posing with him, are from Korea, and they were coming to visit the Korean War Memorial. And when they saw the veteran hat that Lester had on his head that said Korean veteran, they ran up to him and they grabbed his hand and they kissed his hand and they hugged him and they said, "Thank you for saving my country."
Oh my golly. I'm sure he was moved.
He was very moved. He was very stunned, but very moved that this family paid him the respect that he truly deserved. Our next stop is the Vietnam War Memorial. As our trips have becoming more of our Vietnam veterans, the Vietnam War Memorial becomes a very sacred spot. For many of our veterans, this is the first time seeing the Vietnam Wall. It's the first time seeing the name of a friend etched into the marble, or the name of a brother, or someone they went to school with. And the reason why their name is etched in the marble is because they're not here with us. They did not come home. And so for a lot of our veterans, this is the first time that they're really coming to grips with that reality.
Yes.
And I notice on our trips that there seems to be some anxiety as we lead up to the Vietnam War Memorial. But after our veterans get to experience it and get that camaraderie with their fellow Vietnam War veterans, a weight seems to be lifted after we
Really?
visit the memorial.
It's like an honor. They're finally being honored in a very substantial way.
Absolutely.
That touches them.
And we as Honor Flight Southland, when we first started taking Vietnam War veterans, really weren't quite sure how to handle the emotion. And we were told by other hubs that have been taking veterans, just take a step back because the brothers will take care of themselves, as we see here in this photo. After we visit the Vietnam War Memorial, you could see a weight lifted off their shoulder. The wounds may not be healed yet, but you could definitely see the healing process has begun.
Yes.
They've been able to sit there with their brothers. These gentlemen were complete strangers 24 hours earlier, but they are forever linked as brothers that served. I always say that one of my favorite places to be on the trip is the hotel bar after we visited the War Memorial, the Vietnam War Memorial.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. And the reason being is because now our Vietnam War veterans feel a little more relaxed to be able to share their experiences. And that's when the stories start to come out. Stories that are so important to hear because that's our history.
Yes.
We don't want these stories to be lost.
Yes.
And after visiting the memorial, after hugging their brothers and having that emotion, they feel much more free to start telling these stories. Without fail, our dinner that night, a lot of the stories are being told. Family members that come as guardians will always say to us on the Honor Flight staff, "This is the first time I'm hearing this story.
Yes.
I've never heard this story before."
Yes.
Because a lot of our veterans, when they came home, they packed it away and they never told it again. And now they feel comfortable to start to share these stories.
Revealing the feeling is the beginning of healing.
Absolutely.
I like that.
On day 3, depending on our time schedule, we visit Fort McHenry in the morning where they do a beautiful flag ceremony for us. They go through the Star-Spangled Banner and its meaning as it relates to the flag. And depending on time, we also hit the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis. This is a picture of the chapel there, and they do a beautiful tour for us.
Wow, that looks beautiful.
Yes, and entombed below that chapel are the remains of John Paul Jones, Revolutionary War naval hero.
Wow. He was Revolutionary.
Yes.
Wow.
And they do a nice tour for us throughout the campus, and we get to see that beautiful campus where our naval officers will go. After the Naval Academy, we head back to the airport and we head back home. When we arrive back home at LAX, our veterans, as they come down the elevator, will hear a lot of noise and they hear a lot of going on. And for a lot of our Vietnam War veterans, that memory of a lot of noise meant protesting and it meant name calling. But for our veterans, we want to undo this memory that they've held for so long. And we give them the hero's welcome that they truly deserve. And so we fill the airport terminal with family and friends to welcome our heroes home. And the shouts that they hear are not shouts of hate, but they're shouts of love and they're shouts of welcome and gratitude.
Wow.
That's the next sign.
That's awesome, Bryan.
And the signs that they see are not signs of protest, but of thanks. They get the hero's welcome they truly deserve.
And we all have an opportunity to join in that welcoming
Absolutely.
as volunteers.
Everybody is welcome to please come to the airport, LAX. I know it's difficult to ask people to come, but it's an absolutely beautiful ceremony. And for most of our veterans, they don't know that this is happening. And so when they turn that corner to baggage claim, thinking their trip is done, the terminal is completely filled with people holding signs, waving
God.
flags, and welcoming them home.
It's fantastic.
It's a wonderful, wonderful
Yes.
way to end their tour of honor.
Unique opportunity for volunteers too to go. So
Yes, and one that I highly recommend. It is truly a life-changing experience to
yes. We're going to
participate.
consider that, huh, Ro?
Yes, we're going to make that happen
Yes.
for the May event.
Yes, please.
Hopefully we'll get a lot of our villagers to join us and experience that.
Wow, this welcome back is just overwhelming. I
Indeed.
can see how this would just be just a tremendous, ending of the trip. With that said, we still have some more things we'd love to talk to you about, Bryan. When you came to our meeting, we had 2 of our own veterans in our village
Yes.
who've already been on the trip. So as we close this section, we see that we have a lot more to talk about in part 2. So next month, we're going to bring you back, and we're going to talk about more about how we can participate as our club. Our club, we are still every month at our meetings, we're raising money to give to Honor Flight Southland, so we can have our own villagers, go on the trip.
Right.
Yes, we would love to have your villagers
Yes.
come with us,
So-
if not to experience the trip itself, but to volunteer in certain ways.
Yes,
Yes.
right, because I know many would like to do that.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
Okay,
stay
so-
tuned. We'll have to complete this wonderful conversation next month.
Yes. Well, thank you, Pat, and thank you, Ro, for having me. It's an honor to be here, and any opportunity to talk about Honor Flight Southland, I enjoy doing it. So
And
thank you very much
you.
for having
You're
me.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
this is a great celebration for us for Thanksgiving too. We're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving. This will air in December, but we're grateful for so many things.
Yes, thank you very much.